Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to some more Heart of the Swarm beta action. Today we have got some TvP action and two amazing players who will be battling out before our very eyes. In the lower left position we have the red Terran player, it is GoOdy, and his opponent in the top right as the blue Protoss, it is Rain. The map, Daybreak, exciting, no doubt this will be. I know it's a longer macro game, I'm going to give that much away to you right here, right now, because frankly, you'll all be looking at it on YouTube and can see how long the video is, so trying to hide that sort of fact is somewhat in vain. But yes, let me just talk a little bit about what these two could be doing. Of course, a big part of Protoss early and mid game all revolves around the mothership core. We could be seeing some pushing, some good defense with photon overcharge, maybe some greedy expansions. Definitely a possibility on this map. I haven't seen much of Rain on Heart of the Swarm, so I'm uncertain exactly how he likes to play it or what sort of strategy he goes for. Meanwhile though, for GoOdy, he's getting that gas up first. A very quick tech play. Maybe a super early Reaper for scouting information. Could just be going into a quick factory though as well, so we'll just wait to see what GoOdy gets out here for the time being. Of course, while these two are revealing their strategies, let me remind you, if you enjoy my cast, please make sure you hit the subscribe button, also like the video and just leave a comment what you think, because it all adds to really both me enjoying doing it and also just getting your guys' opinions on what you like and what you don't like. So, GoOdy, he's getting up that barracks. Meanwhile, we've got the first gas coming down here for Rain at the moment, so nothing untoward at the time being, but this can all change very rapidly, and that's what gets it exciting. It's what comes out after this barracks, or what comes out from the barracks, which will be exceptionally interesting. We see that there's nearly 100 gas. GoOdy timing this pretty much perfectly to get a good amount of gas as soon as that barracks finishes. He's got enough to start a factory immediately. He's also got enough to get an add-on and start a factory immediately. So he has got a huge amount of gas coming out very early indeed, and how he utilizes that is what's going to be essential moving on into the mid-game. And it looks like it is going to be a factory from the production tab. Meanwhile though, Rain just getting up the cybercore, the first scouting SCV just making its way over now. So it's quite a late scout from GoOdy, but compare that to Rain, of course, who has not yet scouted any further than where this pylon can see. And as such, information-wise, he's very restricted and is going for a pretty much all-round build where he can hold off most aggression, he can deal some good damage, he can transition quite easily into pretty much everything. But for the moment, we just see the GoOdy getting out the factory, getting out the reactor. Hellions, Widow Mines, both very strong possibilities and could be very interesting strategies to apply, and it's something that Rain, if he hasn't been playing much Heart of the Swarm, may not be used to. Especially Widow Mine contains can be very potent. Now they one-shot Zealots and Stalkers as well as Sentries, makes them just oh so powerful. And it looks like it's going to be Hellions for the time being. Could transition into Hellbat drops, which are very strong as we all know, and anyone who's got a Twitter account will know that many pros are struggling with that. Meanwhile for Rain, just getting up that mothership core, taking things fairly careful. Warp gate tech coming down. The first gateway just got out one Zealot, one Stalker, nothing too exceptional for the time being, but that mothership core moving across the map, going to go and get scouting information, and this is one way that a lot of Protoss players have been trying to use it. You can use it quite aggressively and start chipping away, but when you know that a Terran player has got Marines out, it can be a little bit more difficult. But if you get a good time warp down, you can almost definitely delay mining time and get a bit of economical damage done for the time being. So for GoOdy, he had the two Hellions out there, just going over to scout, going to try and get a little bit of harassment going on, but with two Stalkers there, probably not going to be able to achieve that much. The two Widow Mines have now just popped. That just means that GoOdy can have a good defensive position if he doesn't walk them across the map, in which case he could even go and get it offensively. But we see here the Hellions trying to do a nice little bit of damage. A lot of the probes are lining up for the time being, but the Stalkers doing a nice job. We did see GoOdy has killed two workers for the time being. The Widow Mines are now following this up. More Hellions coming out behind this, so GoOdy really trying to shake it up, really trying to make things a bit more interesting. Where these Widow Mines go down will be absolutely essential, and if they do get buried in a good position, it's actually going to be quite a problem, because there is only just the robotics facility starting now, and with that, The Observer is going to be quite a while away, so you can deny a lot of mining time, but the Stalker and Zealot are still down. They're going to start chipping away. The Widow Mines are starting to move, though. There goes down the Burrow. We do see a Foden overcharge goes down, but are we going to see the detonations? One Zealot, one Stalker get instantly taken out. Those Widow Mines almost certainly paid for themselves straight away. Hellions following this up now. Oh, and while Warp Gate Tech is now complete, we can see that actually a couple of Stalkers and that Zealot and Sentry trying to hold the back. Really quite concerned about potential drop tech. Behind this though, GoOdy, he's getting up a double command center. So it was a Rax into a quick reactor with a factory, then going into the double command center. And GoOdy actually is supply blocked at the moment, which is quite problematic for him because he's desperately trying to get out some additional Widow Mines. But these two are somewhat shutting it down until that Observer comes out. So we're just waiting to see when that Observer does hit the field, what these Stalkers are going to try and do, but they've got to be very careful. Otherwise, the Widow Mines could get a shot off on them, but here comes over the Observer. Now, with this, we will see near instantaneously that those Widow Mines do get taken out. The Hellions are now back at the Watchtower because they can't push forward while there's so many Stalkers there. So what do you do as GoOdy in this situation where you transition forward? He's already getting in a position where he can catch up economically with those two command centers. He's getting out a starport as well, and as such, he will be able to start thinking about going for some drop style play. He's getting another factory, and he's getting out a tank. This is a bit unconventional. It's not the sort of thing you tend to see in Wings of Liberty, where obviously we see Marine Marauder Medevac be absolutely perfect against Protoss, but in Heart of the Swarm, mech is becoming a bit more viable. You can get some very interesting compositions. Hellbats help significantly with that. You've also got the fact Widow Mines can one-shot Zealots and Stalkers, as we saw earlier. Meanwhile though, Rain 1x Robotics Bay, and that is all you really need going into late game. You need your Colossi up as quickly as you can. You don't have to worry about the High Templar too soon, and generally speaking, you're a lot better off with Colossus as opposed to High Templar against mech. But wow, what's this? Did that get cancelled? Oh my goodness, he did cancel it. He saw that a tank came out, and in direct response to that, cancelled his robotics bay and went for 2 Stargates in tech. So we're going to see Rain instantly switch things up, go straight into Sky Toss in order to deal with this mech army. I love this sort of play because the problem for GoOdy is that he's only really got Thors and Vikings in order to deal with air. He doesn't have Marines, and as such, that can make things quite problematic. We do see GoOdy though with 1 Medevac getting a couple of Hellions. Going to probably pick up 2 more. There we go, and will now come and drop into the main. But unfortunately for him, we see that Rain is in a great position in order to defend this with the Sentry, with the 2 Stalkers there as well. So what is going to come out of these Stargates? That is the key thing. There's no Fleet Beacon, so it's got to be Voidways, Oracles, or Phoenix. That is his only option for the time being, but we see there the first Voidway coming down. That's a great choice against the tanks. They do so much damage with prismatic alignment, but in comes the Medevac. Now, how much damage is he going to do? A grand total of nothing. GoOdy sees that there's a solid defense there and pulls straight back. Doesn't want to risk it. Meanwhile, we've got some Stalkers just moving across. They're trying to take a little bit of map control, get a bit more map vision. GoOdy in a very turtled up position with those 2 tanks. So how are things looking from the worker front? 52 SCVs to 51 probes. Take into account mules, GoOdy ahead. That is where he wants to be. Meanwhile though, Hellbats are coming. This is now getting to be quite a sizable force, and the center of the map is now going to get taken. GoOdy wants that 3rd base. He wants it down quicker than that of Rain. He's moving the command center. The orbital command will be there very shortly, and with these tanks, it's going to be a very tough position for Rain to try and push into. Yes, those Voidways will help, but did GoOdy see them? The answer is yes, he did. He saw both of them. He saw the double Stargate instantly start that Viking production, and as such, the cat is out of the bag. Rain now no longer going to have the element of surprise. He was trying to hide the Voidways back there, but just a great scan by GoOdy means that he sees everything that he needs to, and as such can prepare appropriately by getting out those Vikings. More missile turrets are also coming down straight away, knowing the Vikings are the potential risk. We've got a second one just down in the back of the main here. We've got the +1 vehicle weapons being researched. We've also got, coming down from here, high-tech auto tracking, and that means that These missile turrets have got increased range, and that's going to help even more against these Void Rays, which are currently being pretty much massed out. Rain straight away getting up to 6 Void Rays. That is quite a sizable number. No more coming out the back of this. Transfer of probes coming down to the 3rd base, but as we see, GoOdy, he's up to 3 bases. He's still sticking with his opponent, 2 SCVs ahead of the probe count, and when you've got the 3 mules as well, that just paints this picture where GoOdy actually has a sizable mineral income. His gas income is ahead for the time being, and all in all, he is getting the pieces of his puzzle that he most desperately needs in order to take this game. Still behind this though, he's getting up a 4th base, constantly expanding. It's a very passive game for the time being, which is somewhat not normal really for Heart of the Swarm. You tend to see a lot more aggression, but these two just playing it quite turtly, quite defensively compared to the early game we saw where GoOdy came for that Hellion and Widow Mine harassment. The Void Rays are seriously stacking up in numbers now, and that's up against just 4 Vikings for the time being, but Vikings of course are armoured, and that just means that with Prismatic Alignment dealing the 6 bonus damage versus armoured, already to the 11 damage per second, that is just getting ridiculously high, and those Void Rays can really start tearing through. But some Hellions coming now, Scout out of the 4th base trying to get taken. That poor little Zealot is taking quite a lot of damage here, and as such will get taken out. Looking back though, GoOdy, he has got a sizable force building, 150 supply for each player. It was bang on even. Meanwhile, the +1 and +1 air armor are on the way down for Rain at the moment. The Fleet Beacon, this is the really important thing. This is going to allow Tempest and Carriers to start coming out, and that's really where SKTRain starts to excel. The 3rd Stargate also being added on here. Complete SKTRain out of Rain for the time being. GoOdy, he just needs to keep up the Viking production, but only producing 2 at a time, and that could become problematic. He needs to make sure that he uses these Thors as effectively as he can, and one way to do that is with high impact payload. Something definitely he's going to want to utilize here, especially against SKTRain, because you need that bonus single target damage. It's not like against Mutalisks or anything like that where you really want to have the splash. Tempest though are being added into this composition, and I love the fact that Rain is keeping all of his army hidden back. He's got control of this watchtower, so he knows if he needs to pull it out. He's got this hallucinated Phoenix, getting the good scout out, getting the good read on his opponent. He's getting some photon cannons down to the 4th base as well, just trying to make sure that he's defended without having to reveal just the size and effect his army does have. So that scan for GoOdy saw absolutely nothing, just saw that actually he's got an Immortal, which isn't going to be too much help against all of this, and as such GoOdy still somewhat in the dark about what's going on. He's getting down that Ghost Academy, but what he really needs to be doing is producing as many Vikings as he can. He does now have 3 Stargates, all with reactors on them, so he can get 6 Vikings at a time, and that is precisely what he needs to be doing now. He needs to be getting out as much anti-air as he can in order to deal with this force. But Rain is coming across the map though, but this is the real scary thing. Just take a look at that army, and oh my goodness, what a great scan out of GoOdy. He now knows precisely what's there. He knows that he needs this Viking positioning to be absolutely perfect. So GoOdy, he needs to keep producing Vikings pretty much non-stop now. He needs to make sure that he's got a sizable force. He feels quite confident. He does have those 20 Vikings there. That's going to shred through most of that army. And Rain, he doesn't have much on the ground. GoOdy maxed out. That is his cue to start moving across the map. He's got 2 vehicle weapons coming down. He's got more Vikings in production behind this. He's getting more tech labs down. Now a scan, just making sure that he can comfortably move forward. And Rain slightly out of position here. GoOdy could get in a very nice angle. There goes down some good Viking volleys, but the Thor's already in high impact payload. We see the Void Rays trying to come in from the side. The Immortal's doing a great amount of damage. Those Time Warps are trying to hit. That's going to stop GoOdy from being able to retreat, and this engagement going very much in Rain's favour for the time being. But as those Void Rays start to crumble in numbers, suddenly the Vikings will take control of the air, and therefore does mean that actually losing all those Void Rays is quite a big loss. The problem though is still the Tempest. They can just sit at the back, shelling away, dealing so much damage. GoOdy now a good 20 supply behind his opponent, and that's actually mainly in army supply. They're bang on even with the worker count, so that just means that GoOdy now in complete panic mode. He needs to make sure that he gets an awful lot of Vikings, but this has given Rain the opportunity in order to take the center base, and the reason that is so important is because that will put Rain on equal bases, actually a base over his opponent, and as such GoOdy doesn't really have a response to that. If he tries to take this base, he'll be spreading himself very thinly, with as Mech you cannot afford to do that. You've got to make sure that actually I can defend all these areas at once, but just pretty much mass Viking on its way out at the moment. Nothing other than Vikings, those 5 Hellbats and a Thor. So really GoOdy responding to SKTRain the only way he sees how. Meanwhile though, Rain, he's getting up his Templar Archives. A couple of storms could really aid in this composition. A bit of splash damage over some clumped up Vikings. My goodness, we'd be seeing them explode quicker than we could ever even hope for if we were in Rain's position. But now, looking back, this is just, well, this is pretty tough now for GoOdy. He is macroing really hard. He's doing everything he can to come back into this game, getting more Thors down, getting more Vikings out, taking his 5th base as well, and as such, he should be able to keep up now with Rain. These two macroing like gods pretty much. But as we see, we've got Storm, we've got Charge coming down, we've got level 3 air weapons as well as level 2 ground armor. Meanwhile, the single Templar Archives is complete somewhere. There we go, but it's not researching Storm quite yet. So just keeping an eye out what's going to come out from there, whether it's just going to be for the Archons or whether we will get Storm as well. The Blink is now following up from Charge. We've got these Hellbats coming to clear out that Zealot. The Hellbats do very well against Zealots. It's really quite easy. Meanwhile, more High Templar coming there. We probably will see them morphing to an Archon. There we go. But behind this, just more Gateways on their way, ready to resupply. And we can see the Rain just with a good bank of minerals. The Hellbats are going to get a shock here, and that is going to mean 1 free Hellbat. The second one going to fall as well. These Tempests just able to do so much damage. 3 are now down. And well, how many Tempests do we even have? 10 on the field. GoOdy getting a scan to see if he can take this. And now in comes the engagement. All clumped up. Those Vikings are going to take a lot of splash damage from the Archons. The Tempests doing so much damage from behind. The Void Rays do get taken out very quickly, but the ground army is starting to melt. Meanwhile, the Tempests are starting to get focused, because if they don't have support, they get taken out very, very easily. So the Vikings are starting to push through. The lack of ground army for Rain is starting to hurt for him. Meanwhile, the Thors even lending a helping hand. The Viking count starting now to diminish, but the Thor count is still just as high as it was before. We can see now with some good shells that actually these Tempests taking a lot of damage. One more will fall, and as such, GoOdy has now taken a solid lead. If we look at the loss tab, it's actually exactly the same. The difference being though, GoOdy does have mules, and that just means that his income should be looking so much better than his opponent, especially when he starts cooling them down. But for the time being, Rain, he's just macroing as quickly and as efficiently as he can, getting more Void Rays out. The Viking count still up at 10 though. Just means that SKTRain could be running into a few problems. Level 3 Protoss air armor, level 3 Protoss ground weapons coming down as well. So upgrade wise, these two are looking fairly solid. GoOdy does only have level 1 ship weapons though, could look to gain level 2, but literally as I say that, he starts level 3 ship plating also on its way down. And as such, GoOdy has got a very strong mech army, and he just needs to make sure that he can deal with this air toss as quickly as he can, just as efficiently as he can as well. Doesn't want to go into big trades of engagements. However, it's better than some Protoss compositions, because Stargates are still relatively slow to build up their army, and therefore SKTRain can take a little bit of time. But these two just trying to position themselves, trying to get in a situation where they can look to actually take the 6th base, and this is where the game really could get played out, because even though they're mining quite comfortably for the time being, they will start to run out of bases, they will start to run out of minerals, and they will start to run out of resources. And once you end up running out of resources, the cost effectiveness of your trading becomes vitally important. That's something that I am certainly trying to keep an eye out for and make sure that we keep a good watch on, because at the moment it is pretty much, it's literally about 50 resources different in losses at a 25-minute game. That is substantially, well, that is exceptionally close, and as a result, I think this game could still go either way. It's going to come down to probably the next engagement most likely, but GoOdy, he's got a good bank, Rain does not, and that is what's really going to help GoOdy in the resupply. But here we go, the engagement coming down, we see the Vikings trading straight in. However, the Archons doing a nice little bit of damage, the Thors just chipping away at everything they can. The Immortal outranged by those Stalkers, a blink back, the Void Rays have now been taken down. GoOdy with such higher supply, he's just starting to reproduce some more Vikings. He's trying to take up the Tempest time, but the Thors have all survived for the moment, but can't engage off that cliff. They need to pull back, be a bit more defensive. But that was a great trade for GoOdy, and actually it was apparently a very even trade economically, but just in terms of the supply count now, GoOdy has more supply on the field, and that is what makes the big difference. GoOdy's managed to spend all of his money. He's got four Thors on the way, and 4 Thors is really hard to save, so I do apologize for that, but still, these Stalkers are now trying to run around, trying to get out of the play as best they can, but Rain, he's just moving around, he's positioning himself, he knows he's in trouble, trying to get those Void Rays out, trying to get more Immortals out, trying to just stick with GoOdy in the upgrades, and that's one thing really in Rain's favour, is 3-3 air upgrades against 2-3 upgrades for GoOdy at the moment for both ships and vehicles. So with that, that just means that a slight upgrade advantage should be helping Rain out, but it's how he transitions out of this, because there's just so many Thors there. There's so much potential damage to be put out by GoOdy, who is now remaxed, who is getting out +3 vehicle weapons, who has got equal bases, and is still sitting quite comfortably with Rain in terms of the work account. And that just means that Rain isn't getting ahead anywhere, he's just behind in supply. That is the only difference between these two for the time being, and that deficit in supply is something that's going to really start hurting Rain, especially when he doesn't have the money to really resupply. GoOdy, if he goes for this anytime soon with this mass Thor Viking army, could be very successful. Gets the scan down and says, hey, do you know what? I can take this. I can take this engagement. The Vikings start going to town on everything. The Thors are going to start chipping away. There's very little on the ground, and the Tempests are getting taken out near instantly by this many Vikings. Meanwhile, the Thors are taking down the Archons. The final Tempests are starting to fall, and, well, even though the Vikings are now cleaned up, there is just so many Thors there. Rain down to just 110 supply to the 175 of GoOdy. The Thors just cleaning it up, and we see now that this final Tempest is being forced to retreat back. Rain trying to take the bottom center expansion, but it's not looking too good. He's lost the center base now. GoOdy, meanwhile, behind this, still has money in the bank, is still resupplying as best he can. He's still got a sizable Thor army, and now just marching straight up is going to find this base, is going to be able to destroy this base, and with that will take a single base advantage against Rain, and that is not something that you want as a Protoss player. So, in come these Zealots. They're going to try and chip away at some of these SCVs, do a little bit of damage as best they can, but as we can see, just this is, while annoying for GoOdy, he's not got that much of a problem, because he can start pulling back, and no matter how many SCVs that really these Zealots take out, I'd actually argue that it's beneficial for GoOdy, because it frees up worker supply when he's got a lot of money and he's got a maxed out army in order to make more units. It's something you want to do late game anyway as a Terran player, is just start to sacrifice your SCVs, because you only need them for gas. You've got the mules for the minerals, and as such, GoOdy isn't going to be too bothered. How many were killed though, just out of curiosity? We see Rain in this game has killed 34 workers overall compared to the 15 of GoOdy, but still, we can see that this base, mining happily, center base, only just starting back now. GoOdy getting some scans off, takes a look at the army, and sees, do you know what? You don't have much. GoOdy a good 50 supply ahead of his opponent, and with that is going to start marching across the map. He's got the +3 ground vehicle weapons upgrades, he's got the +3 ship weapons, he's got the +3 mech armor. That's up against the 3-3 upgrades for Rain, but no shield upgrades, which is the only thing that may help. But just so many Thors here, and while Rain really trying to transition out of that SKTRain style, there's just so many Thors, it could be very tough. But now GoOdy moving forward, he snipes off that Tempest very quickly. There's just so many Thors here. It's all up to the Immortals. Are they going to be able to do enough? The Vikings even landing to get in on that. And well, the damage is coming down nicely. Those Immortals chipping away at pretty much everything. But just with wave after wave of Thors, Rain is forced to GG out after losing his whole army, and GoOdy played just very solidly throughout that game. It did look very close at times, it looked very tough at times as well, but just showing that with brute force and determination you can sometimes pull back. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. Make sure you like the video, leave a cool comment and subscribe, and I hope to see each and every one of you tomorrow for yet another new game. Bye.